So let's start with the topic first, that is investment. So I would just like to know from you people, what do you understand by the term investment? What do you think? What is investment? Anybody? Okay, so for us, investment is something where we invest and we get a return, right? We put our money in certain avenue and we get something in return for it, right? So anybody else? Any other input? What is investment? Okay, first tell me what do we do in investment? We have certain extra money in our hand, right? If I don't have extra money with me, how can I invest it somewhere? So the first and foremost requirement of investment is to have a certain amount in hand, right? So the first requirement of investment is to have certain things in our hand so that we can invest, right? So investment is commitment of funds to one or more assets that is held over some future time period. So the first feature of investment is when you invest, when you have some extra funds with you. See, everybody has a household to run. So when we are left with some money, that money we invest in somewhere else when we are left with certain amount. So it is a commitment of fund. Why we call it a commitment? Because investment, in very simplest terms, investment is when you invest a certain amount for a duration of time, right? So investment is first thing we understood it, we must have something extra in our hand. If we don't have extra money with us, we cannot invest it somewhere, right? So the first thing is we must have some extra money with us. Second is commitment of funds. Yeah. So why commitment of funds? Because investment always means that we have certain extra money and which we are ready to invest over a period of time. If you are putting your money, for example, we are betting. Okay, I'm putting 100 rupees on stake. If rain will come, I will win. If rain will not come, you will win. So here I'm not investing my money for a period of time. You know, at a blink of eye, we can just exchange money. So this is not investment. So investment is when you employ your money for a period of time, not for 1 hour, 2 hour, at least for certain period of time, right? Now the period of time is, yes. Hmm. Yes, I'm recording. Okay. So we are where we were. So you are putting your money for a certain period of time in the investment avenue, right? So what are the major features of investment? First is you must have extra money. Second is you are putting your money for a period of time, not for a day or two, right? Moving forward, by forging consumption and investing the saving, investors expect to enhance their future consumption possibilities by increasing their wealth. So, for example, I am having a certain amount with me. For example, I have 10,000 rupees with me. I have two options. First, what I can do, I can invest this money, and I expect that if I invest 10,000 rupees in stock market or any other revenue, not only stock market. When we talk about investment, we are not only talking about stock market. We talk about any kind of investment avenue. It can be uh, you know it can be an FD, it can be a reoccurring deposit, any kind of investment. So whenever you put your money somewhere, right, instead of spending it right now, I'm not spending it right now because I want to invest it somewhere, so that after a year, for example, this money will grow. Obviously, we always invest with a perspective to raise our income, raise our money, raise our wealth. So the basic, what we say, that the basic purpose behind investing is to increase the money, right? So when I'm forging my present consumption to increase my money, that is called investment, right? Then third is investment can be made to intangible assets like marketable securities or real assets like gold, real estate, etc. So here, as I told you, when we understand this term investment is not only about investing in stock market. You can invest anywhere. For example, if you invest your money in gold, in real estate, that is also a kind of investment. So when investment is a very huge term, a very vast term. So when we talk about investment, we are not only talking about stock market, because in stock market there are a number of investment avenues. You can invest anywhere. For example, there is commodity, there is currency, there are stocks, there are debts, and there are a number of investment avenues. And nowadays there is another type of investment that is called cryptocurrency, blockchains. If you are aware about blockchains, bitcoins, I mean, if you know about it. So there are a number of investment avenues where you can invest, right? So investment can be made in intangible assets. It doesn't always have to be tangible assets. It can be intangible assets also, which cannot be seen. Yeah. So investment refers to the study of investment process. Now we will also understand what is the process of investment, what are the ifs and buts of investment, and how do we invest in the market. So generally in financial assets like marketable securities, so here we are using the term marketable securities. Marketable securities are the securities which you can resell in the market at any point of time. So please, wherever you feel any term is not understandable, you can please ask me. Okay. So here the term marketable, every security, wherever you want to invest, it should be marketable. For example, you have bought a share of any company, right? And you are holding it for a period of time. And suddenly, for example, you are in need of money. You will go in the market to sell it. But if you are not able to convert that asset into cash, for example, you're not able to sell it, it is not marketable, then it is of no use for you. So whatever security you invest in, it should be marketable. It means it should be one should be able to convert that security into cash at any point of time. It should be easy to convert into cash. For example, you have invested in real estate, in any house, in any property, but if it is not able, you are not able to sell the real estate when you really need money, then that investment is of no use. So here we are understanding another feature of investment, which says that in whatever security, in whatever asset you invest, it should be marketable. You should be able to sell it whenever you need it. Okay. So to increase, to maximize investors' wealth, one should be able to sell it, and which is the sum of investors' current income and present value of future income. So here, we will study a term called time value of money that we'll discuss later on. Today we are discussing very, very basic things. I will tell you what is time value of money in later classes. So let's move forward. Now, next is investment strategies. Now, what are the strategies? So, majorly there are two types of investment strategies. First is passive investment strategy, and second is active investment strategy. Now, what is passive investment strategy? A passive investment strategy is the strategy that determines initial investment proportions and assets and make few changes over a time. For example, you are not a regular investor in the market, right? You are not a regular investor and you have certain money with you. For example, you have 20,000 rupees with you, or you know um, and this money you can invest in any security, right? Initially you have decided that I am going to invest that money, as you can see in the slide, I have also given the example. Just a second. Here, so this, for example, you have 1 lakh rupees with you, and out of which you have invested 30,000 rupees in debt. I hope you people know what is debt. What is the difference between debt and equity? Anybody? Shall I explain what is debt and equity? Okay. So, debt, I just give you an overview that debt is a form of investment where basically when you invest, you get a fixed return. every year whether the company is earning return or not. So company is obliged to pay you return. And equity is when you are investing in company is not obliged to pay you returns in case the company is suffering losses. So there are two cases. In first case, the company is obliged to pay you returns, obliged to pay you interest, whether the company is earning returns or not. But in case of equity, if the company is earning return, then only they will give you a dividend. Otherwise, they will not give you a dividend. So equity is a comparatively, a comparatively riskier investment in comparison to debt. But the benefit of equity is if the company basically shares its profit with the investor. So for example, after investing this 1 lakh rupees, the company has earned, for example, 50,000. Right. So these debt holders will get only 10% of 30,000, that is 3,000. But out of 50,000, these debt holders will get only 3,000. But these equity shareholders will get 40 remaining 47,000. So in case of equity shareholders, the return is more, right? So because they are bearing more risk. So there is a very famous saying in finance, that is, higher the risk, higher the probability of return. The more risk you take, the more is the chances that you earn good profit, right? But when we talk about risk doesn't mean that you invest in market like blindly, right? Your risk should be always a calculated risk. You can never invest your money like this. One should always be very, very careful where they are putting their money. Are they seeing all the things before investing money in stock market, right? So passive investment strategy, as let's go back to passive investment strategy, where at the start of the uh, you know start of the investment plan, the investor has decided that 30,000 debt, 50,000 equity, and remaining 20,000, the investor wants to invest in FD. FD is fixed deposit. So this is risk free. FD is basically a risk free investment. Okay. So as just a second. So here FD is basically a risk-free investment because there is no risk now. Whatever is happening in the market, it doesn't matter. Bank will give you a fixed return. So this is risk-free investment. So then debt, in debt there is very less risk. Why there is very less risk? Because for example, when you invested in the market, the company was offering you return of 10%, right? And just you invested in company. So debt has a particular lifetime. For example, 5 years debt. I'll just write it here. 30% debt at 10% for 5 years. So you have invested your money for 5 years. And after 1 year, for example, new types of debts has come into the market, and now the return, the new type in new debts, the returns they are giving is, for example, 12%. So you are getting a return of 10%, but the new debt holders, the new company is offering 12%. So this is the kind of risk which a debt holder face, that in future the return offered by the companies are more in comparison to what you are getting. So this is the kind of risk what a debt holder face. And obviously in there is default risk, that the company may become bankrupt, then obviously company will not be able to pay you, right? But these are the two types of risk which a debt holder face in the investment. Otherwise, there is no risk. But in case of equity shareholders, it is a very, very risky investment where the company, if the company will earn good, then they will pay you. Otherwise, the company will not pay you. So, in case of passive investment strategy, at the start of the investment, the investor has very clearly defined the role that I am going to put my 1 lakh rupees 13 debt, 20 in risk free, and equity may we have 50,000, which is quite risky. Okay, so this is how the investment investor has made his or her portfolio. We call it a portfolio. So what is a portfolio? Where you do not put all your money in a single investment. So basically, there is another saying in finance, which means which goes like this: do not put all your eggs in one basket. Right. So if you have 1 lakh rupees and you have invested all your 1 lakh rupees in equity and in one company only. I see here I have mentioned that there are 4 companies. You are not going to put your 50,000 also in single company. You are putting your money in different companies. You are investing your money in different companies. So it is very important in finance that do not put all your eggs in one basket. For example, if you have invested 50,000 in only one company and this company is somehow not doing well, because for example there is a lockdown of labor, or maybe there is some internal managerial problems, then the company is not going good. If you have invested whole 50,000 rupees in company A, then the whole money is going to, you know, get wasted. But if you have invested 50,000 rupees in company A, B, C, D, even if company A is not performing well, you will get good returns from company B, C, and D, right? So that is why in finance we always say that do not put all your eggs in one basket. Put your money in different investment avenues. So usually what we do in finance, that put certain amount of your investment in risk free, so that at least this 20,000 will not go anywhere. Maybe this 30,000 has gone, maybe this 50,000 has gone, but this 20,000 will not go anywhere. You will earn 20,000 rupees minimum, right? Or, I mean, 20,000 at whatever FD rate is, right? So this much, for example, you will earn no matter what the market situation is. So this is your risk-free return, which you will earn definitely. Then in debt, there is a little bit of risk. Then in equity, there is risk. But the return of equity would be the highest because you are bearing a lot of risk in equity. So in passive investment strategy, the investor has already decided that he or she is going to invest his or her money in this pattern, and once he will put his money, he is not going to look it again. After 5 years only, he is going to see what has happened to the debts, what has happened to the equity, and what has happened to FD. So for 5 years, he is not going to look after whatever is happening. Maybe company is doing well, not doing well, but he is not looking. He will just see after 5 years. So this is called passive investment strategy. But there are active investors also. So the second strategy in investment is active investment strategy. So in case of active investment strategy, a strategy that seeks to change investment proportions and in the belief that profits can be made. So here, in case of active investment strategy, the investor is very wise. He knows how to make money, and he's just not putting his or her money in the well and just seeing after 5 years. He constantly looks after the performance of the company. For example, here he has 1 lakh rupees and he has invested 70,000 in equity and 30,000 in debt, right? So at any point of time, when he feels that the equity market is not doing well, or maybe the company where he has invested is not doing well, he will immediately withdraw money from equity and put it in debt. For example, he has changed it. Now this 70 has become 60 and this 30 debt has become 40. So what he'll do, an active investor will change the portfolio proportion. Portfolio, basically the combination of debt and equity. And wherever he feels that the market is changing, market performance is changing, he is going to change the proportion. Equity, less debt, or more debt, less equity. He is going to change the proportion. He is going to change the companies. Maybe initially he has invested in company A. Now he has withdrawn his money from A and putting his money into company B. So this is how he is going to change the proportion and the investment as per the market situation. He's not going to look the condition of his stock or debt after 5 years, but continuously he's looking after, and wherever he feels that the company has earned good amount, he's going to withdraw. Okay. So in active investment strategy, he will continuously look after the performance of the company, and wherever he feels that the company is not doing well, or the company has for example, he has bought the share at rupees 10, rupees 10 here, right? Now the share price has risen up to rupees 15. So he feels that a share is giving, and he has bought 100 shares, for example, of this company, right? So today he has bought today 100 shares for rupees 10, right? And after 3 months, for example, the stock price is 15 rupees. So what he's seeing that he's earning 5 rupee on single share. So now he can sell his 100 shares at this point of time, 100 shares. So he has bought for rupees 1000 here. He invested rupees 1000, and after 3 months this 1000 will become 1500. So what he's going to do, he's going to sell it in the market, and the profit he has booked here is 500 rupees. So this is how an active investor will continuously look after his investment, that when he should buy it, when he should sell it, or maybe restructure his portfolio. So how to restructure the portfolio, that we'll understand when we'll move forward. So these are the basic things. Okay. So moving forward, now the features of investment. What do we see when we invest in market? What are the things which we see? See, every investment, whenever you invest in the market, there are always two very, very important things. There are always two sides of the coin. So similarly, we have two very, very important things here: risk and return. Usually we think that, okay, let's take an example. For example, there are two assets, asset A or stock A, you can say, stock A. The return of stock A is 10%, and there is stock B, and its return is 12%. Where do you think, where will you invest? In stock A or in stock B? Okay, stock B, because the return is greater. Now, moving forward, this is your return. Now, what is the risk involved? To earn 10% return, the risk which an investor will bear is 15% here. And to earn 12% return of company B, the risk which the investor has to bear is, for example, 14%. So, do you understand what is the meaning of 15% or 14% risk? It means that out of 100, in case 1, out of 100, there are 85% chances that this 10% return will be earned. And in case of company B, there are 86% chances that the company is going to give you. Okay, sorry, just a second. I'll just change the figure. So here it is, risk is, for example, 9%. Okay, so here it is 9% risk, and here risk is 14%. Now to earn a return of 10%, the risk is only 9%. But in case of stock B, to get return of 12%, the risk is 14%. So what does it mean? That to earn 10% return, there are how many chances? For example, we toss a coin. Either it will come head, or there is tails, head or tails. So there is 50-50 chance, right? So similarly, if I say that there is 9% risk, what does it mean? That there is 91% chances that the company will give you 10% return, but there are 9% chances that the company may not be able to give you this return. And in case of stock B, there are, you know, how much chances? 86% chances that the company will give you 12% return, but there are 14% chances that the company will not be able to give you, right? Out of 100. So now tell me, in which company you will invest? In stock A or in stock B? Okay, stock A. See, now, is there anybody who would still go for stock B?
Yes, ma'am.
Right.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
So now one thing we'll understand, in investment, when you invest in stocks, there is nothing right or wrong. I will not say the guy who said he will invest in stock A is right, or who said stock B is wrong, or vice versa, because it is completely your choice. Where do you want to invest? Somebody who is ready to take a risk of 14%, he will go for stock B. But if somebody is not interested in taking that much risk, 14% risk, he will go for stock A. Because as you can see that in the returns of stock A and stock B, the difference is only 2%, right? The difference is 2%, but risk is 5%. To get 2% extra return, you have to bear a risk of 5% extra. Now it is your sensibility whether you want to go for it or you don't want to go for it. You think that this is a risk worthy situation. So, as I told you, risk is always calculated risk. We never go like, we never go like blindly in the market. You always have to see that whether this risk is calculated risk or not. So those who want to go for stock B, they are also fine, and those who want to go for stock A, they are also fine, because it is completely their choice where do they want to invest. So if they feel that 5% extra risk and 2% extra return is reasonable, then they can definitely go for it. But if they feel that no, I for to get 2% extra return, I'm not going to bear 5% extra risk, then don't go for it. So those who don't want to go for it are called risk averse. Or maybe in certain situations they are wise enough or not wise enough, or whatever the choice is. There is no rule of thumb in finance. In finance, we never say that, in investment, we never say that this has to be done. It is completely your choice. So as I told you that this whole procedure is completely your understanding. How much clearly you understand the market, how much skills you have developed in the market, and accordingly you will invest. It is your common sense, or your common sense, I would say. It is your, see, in market there are a lot of factors. There is sense also, there is market understanding also, your skills also, and of course luck also. This luck also plays a role in the market, right? At times the decisions you take, the investment plan you make really goes very very well, but at times it doesn't work so well. So there are a lot of factors, right? So as I told you, whenever you invest in market, there are always two sides of a coin, risk and return. So you will never choose any stock only on the basis of returns. There are always risk associated with returns. So whenever next time, whenever I'll ask you such a question that you have two stocks A and B, if only on the basis of return you will decide, that would be a wrong answer. Always ask that what is the risk involved, right? So never ignore the risk part in investment. So with the stock, there are two things associated: risk and return. So now next question is, what is risk? Return, we all know what is return. Obviously 10%. If I have invested 1,000 rupees, I'm going to earn 10% on 1,000. That is my return, right? But what is risk? How do we calculate risk? How I said that this security has 9% risk and this security has 14% risk. So this part we'll also understand how to calculate this risk. But for time being, I'll just brief you what is risk all about. Then we'll pick stocks and we'll calculate the risk also in further classes. But today, let's understand what is risk. So basically, risk is, see, there are two types of returns. For example, I'll just see here. Expected return is 25% from your portfolio. Portfolio, as I told you, what is portfolio? Portfolio is group of investment, right? For example, company ABCD, you have invested in 4 companies, so it makes your portfolio, right? So portfolio in very simple terms, do not put all your eggs in one basket. Put your money in different investment avenue. That is what we call portfolio, right? So expected return, you expect that after investing in a particular stock for 1 year, in 5 stocks, for example, you have chosen 5 companies, one IT company, one, for example, sugar industry, one any stock, banking or any other stock. You have chosen 4 companies, for example, A, B, C, and D. So this is how you have made your portfolio. You have chosen 4 companies where you feel like investing, and at the end, when you have calculated your portfolio return, that I will teach you how to calculate portfolio return. Today we'll just understand the basics. Okay. So you have 4 companies, and you feel that after calculating return, your expectation is that the return would be 25%. I will earn 25% return. For example, in ABCD stock, you have invested rupees 1 lakh. You had 1 lakh rupees, and after investing 1 lakh rupees in these 4 companies, you are going to get 25% return, right? This is your expectation. You have studied the market, you have applied certain formulas, and after applying these certain formulas, you have understood that I am going to earn 25%, right? Now, point is, whatever you have calculated, you calculate this expected return on the basis of past performance. For example, when you study for exam, what do? You see last year question papers. Okay, every time this questions come, so this time also it will come. We always see the history, history repeats itself. We always consider this fact. So when you saw the performance of the company for last 4 5 years, you got to know that the company has performed very well in last 5 years, and this year also you're expecting that this year also it will be performing good and the return will be 25%. But this year what has happened? Pandemic has come. So obviously the performance may go down, right? You didn't know that this such a situation will come. So market is uncertain. Anything can happen at any point of time, and whatever you have expected on the basis of past, it may or may not come true, right? So you expected 25%, but the actual results, realized returns may be 28 or 22, maybe more than 25% or maybe less than 25%. Any of the scenario may come true, right? So there is always a difference between, or always I would say maximum number of times, there is always a difference between expected and realized returns. That is, maybe the return will go up or the return will go down. If the return you have expected 25% and return is 28%, you will be very happy, obviously, right? But if you have expected 25% and the return has gone down to 22%, then you will not feel good about it, right? So, in very simple terms, what is risk? Risk is the variation in expected and actual returns. Okay, so we think that risk is a negative term, but it is not always true that risk is a negative term. Risk can either be positive or negative. Problem is your calculation of this 25% is not true. If I say in very simple terms, what you have expected on the basis of your calculation is not a correct interpretation. So it may go up or it may go down. So risk in very, very simple terms is called the difference between expected and realized returns. So it is not a negative term, but it is just a variation from your expectations. So do you think that earning 28% return is a good situation for you people? What do you think?
Yes, ma'am.
Good, acha. So, but
Yes, ma'am.
yes, because we are earning 3% extra. But here point is that your calculation is wrong, right? Point is not that you are earning 3% extra, but point here is that you have calculated your risk in a wrong way. You have calculated your return in a wrong way. Actually, it was 28%. So, answer wrong means wrong, no? It doesn't mean that extra or less, but the point is your calculation is not wrong, is not right. So whatever it is, even if it is more than your expectation, then also it is not a good thing, because in future you may also get trouble. In future it may go down. So risk is basically the difference between expected and realized returns. But whatever you calculate, it should be very, very close to the actual one. Then you are a good investor. Your expectations are right. It means your calculations are right. So do not feel happy when the realized returns are more than expected returns. That is also not a good situation, because your calculations are not good. Calculations are not right. It is not a good situation, right? So I hope this is clear with everyone what is risk. So risk is difference between actual and expected. So moving forward, there is always, as I told you, you do not put all your money in risky things. You always put your money somewhere safe also. We do not put all our money in, very risky venues like equity, stock market. These are such big terms. Obviously we want to live our life, and maybe in future situations may be tough, things may go tough. So we always put our money in certain risk-free avenues also. We do not put all our money in the risky things. So that's why we also have to put, this is one of the feature of investment, that first is one must think of returns, one must think of risk, and one must always think about risk free return. You do not put all your money in very, very risky things. You should put your money in risk free securities also. So whenever you go to invest in the market, never put your whole money in market. Keep a certain amount aside and put it maybe in FD or secure forms. There are so many, pension plans, and there are so many things which actually give you very good returns. But obviously, it takes a lot of time, right? For example, pension plans, you have to invest for so many years in it, for 20 years, 30 years. So this is the kind of investment, but obviously this is risk free. At least, even if your at times your calculations may not go right, then also you will earn something. Then there is risk premium. So what is risk premium here? This is very important. For example, you are bearing this risk, 14% risk, right? Instead of 9% risk, you are bearing 14% risk, because you are investing in stock B. So you are taking 5% extra risk, because of which you are earning 2% extra return. So this is your risk reward, risk premium. Because you are bearing 5% extra risk, you are earning 2% extra return. So this is called risk premium. Then next is liquidity. Liquidity is very, very important, because liquidity and marketability, these two things are quite interrelated. Because wherever you are in, for example, you have invested in stock market, or you have invested in, for example, real estate. Let's take this example. You have invested in real estate, and you thought that after a year, the prices of the property will go up, and at that time I will sell this property and earn a lot of money, right? But point is, after 1 year, for example, after 6 months, you are in urgent need of money. You didn't think that you will be in need of money within 6 months. You had an expectation of 1 year, but urgently you need money. So after 6 months, if your property is not getting sold in the market, then it is a trouble for you, right? So whenever you invest in anything, it should be able to one should be able to liquefy that asset into cash at any point of time. For that, its marketability is important. It means buyers should be there, right? So whenever you invest in something, always see that the asset must be marketable, or you should be able to liquefy it at any point of time. If it is you are not able to liquefy it, then there would be trouble for you, right? So, for example, there are different stock exchanges. Like in India, there are two major stock exchanges: National Stock Exchange of India and Bombay Stock Exchange of India, right? So there are many regional stock exchanges also, like Delhi Stock Exchange, Lucknow Stock Exchange, very very small exchanges. There, if you invest, once you buy something, you will not be able to find the buyers. If you want to sell your security, then usually they're called thin markets, where you do not find buyers. Stock markets where you do not find buyers, they're called thin markets. And where there are a lot of buyers and sellers. For example, if you have bought money from National Stock Exchange or very big stock exchanges, there all over the world people are investing. So whenever you want to sell your stock, there would be buyers. Always there would be buyers, because approachability is very huge. So they are called thick markets, right? There are two markets: thin market and thick market. Thin market is market where you do not find buyers, and thick markets where you find buyers very easily, where the trade volume is very huge, right? Buying and selling is very huge. They are called thick markets. So next very very important feature of investment is, as we discussed, liquidity and marketability. Then the next and last feature of investment is tax savings. So here it is very important that wherever you are investing, the as you know, tax is a very huge thing. So for example, if somebody who is in service, right, he invest in certain avenues just to save tax, because when if he'll not invest, he'll not save his money, he has to give that money to government as tax. So that's why what he does is he invests. So one of the most major important feature of investment is to save tax. And there are other equities, and when you earn something out of equity, there are taxes also. So we always want to invest in such avenues where we can save tax, where there is less tax. You can always find such securities where tax is minimum. So these are the major features of investment, on the basis of which we choose our investment avenues, right? Okay. So here, risk-free return is the return where there is no risk associated. Maybe market has gone up or down, whatever has happened. For example, now at the time of pandemic, there are so many things going on in the market, and there is so much panic in the market, and we don't know what is going to happen. If we talk about 6 months back situation, so much panic was there. So stock prices has gone down, but if somebody has invested in FD, bank cannot say na that okay, pandemic is there, I'm going to give you less return. They're always going to pay you whatever they have promised you. So that is why we say that you should not invest your whole money in stock market or in riskier venues. You should always choose some of your money in risk-free securities. So risk-free securities are the securities where you are going to earn what has been promised to you, no matter what the market situation is, right? They are called risk-free returns. So moving forward, objectives of investment management. Now we have, this part is quite related to the previous one. I'll just brief it out quickly. So here, what is the objective of investment? Why we are making investment? Why we have to manage it? So what we are doing in this course, we are trying to understand how to manage investment. What are the key aspects we need to see while we are investing, right? So First is risk return trade off. As we discussed here, risk return trade off is very important. You can not only see this 10% and 12%. You should always see this risk 9% and 14% also while you select a stock, right? So, objective of investment management, first objective is risk return trade off. Never choose your investment only on the basis of return. This is the common mistake we do. Yeah. So, whenever you pick a stock, pick an investment for your investment, do not only see return, see the risk associated with it. If you choose only on the basis of return, you may not earn that, right? So always see risk, right? Then there is liquidity, as we have discussed here, that you should be able to sell your asset into the in market at any point of time whenever you need it, not what they have promised. Maybe you need money today only, then you should be able to find buyers of your asset. So liquidity is very important. Tax shield, we have discussed that tax saving is very important. There are certain types of securities, certain types of investment where tax is very heavy front end, and there are types of securities we'll discuss where there are taxes are very huge. So we, even if they are giving you good returns, the most of the return will go into tax. So whatever security you pick, you should be able to save tax. Tax should be very less. There are certain securities, certain investment where they come under tax haven, where taxes are less. So one should pick such securities where taxes are minimum. See, in tax haven, there are different rebates given by government. For example, when you investment agricultural products, their government give you rebates. And if you're exporting something, if you invest in certain companies where, as a venture capitalist, for example, if you're exporting something, because government needs more exporting companies to earn dollars, right? So in such companies, if you invest, there are huge rebates given to the investors. So one can invest in such companies. Sorry. Hmm, hmm, hmm. So there are so many tax havens, right? So you just have to see where government is giving you, like Make in India. Make in India is a very good example where government gives you a lot of benefits. So you should find certain areas where government is supporting you. It is very important to find those areas where government support is available, right? Then there is flexibility. So what does it mean by flexibility? Like there are debts which are convertible into equity after some time, right? Convertible debts, I hope you have heard this term, convertible debts. For example, the life of the debt is 10 year, but the company will give you an option that after 5 years you can convert those debts into equity. For example, this is a new company. Many new companies offer convertible debts where initially nobody wants to invest in new companies equity, because it is very very risky. They don't know about the company, but the company is, for example, well established, then people are ready to invest in their equity shares. But if the company is new, people are not ready to invest in their equity shares. They want to invest in debts only because they have an obligation to pay you the interest. So in that case, companies issue convertible debts that initially invest in their debt. They, for 5 years, for example, they are giving you return every year, and they build the trust of the investor. Now, because 5 years they have given very good returns, I mean they have given regular interest, and the company is also performing good. If you see their annual report, you see that okay, company has good projects in hand, they're going to have these collaboration. Now you have built a trust in the company. So maybe after 5 years, you may want to convert debts into equity, right? So this is the flexibility part, right? At any point of time you can convert it. And in other sense, we can say that, for example, you have a portfolio where there is 30% debt and 70% equity, but now you have grown and you have earned more money. Now you want to change this portfolio, you want to make 50% debt, 50% equity, or whatsoever you want to do. So your portfolio should be flexible. At any point of time where you want to change the proportion of your investment, or you want to withdraw your investment from certain company, or change debt into equity of a particular company, you should be able to do it. because circumstances change, company's performance change, your financial position change, it may go good, it may go worse, whatsoever, you should be able to change according to the present circumstances. Yeah, so flexibility should always be there. Then there are balanced portfolio. Your portfolio should be balanced. As I told you, do not put all your eggs in one basket. There should be certain risk-free returns, certain debt, certain equities. So that in case of any situation, you should not be in such a situation where all your money is going into going wasted. So you should make your portfolio in such a way that whatever the situation is, your money, a certain portion of your money should be in safe hands, right? So your portfolio should be balanced, risk free, then risky, less risky, more risky. Accordingly, you should make your portfolio. That is completely your choice. Nobody is going to tell you that do this or do that. We can just give you, an idea that how to invest. Ultimately, it is your choice. How do you, make your strategies and how you are moving forward in your investment plans. So, moving forward, there are factors affecting investment decisions. So, on what basis you make your strategy? What are the factors which affect your investment decisions? Here I ask you that which stock you will choose, this one or this one. So, here obviously you decided on certain factors. So, the first thing is which affect your just a second, which affect your decisions is amount of investment. How much money do you have for investment? If somebody is a service class person, obviously he has a family to support. He may not have a lot of money with him. So obviously the investment, the money with him for investment is less. So he will choose very wisely that where he should invest so that money will grow also, plus there is less risk also. Yeah, so one of the major important factor when you invest in market is amount of investment. Then purpose of investment, this purpose, what is your purpose? See, for a service class person, for example, when I invest, my purpose is to save tax, because I know if I'll not invest, my money will go to government. So this is my major purpose. But if somebody is from a very huge business, he has a lot of extra money, so he is not bothered about saving tax. The major purpose of his investment is to grow his money, multiply his money. So, what is the purpose of your investment? Do you just want to save tax, or you want to earn a lot of out of it? And there are people who full time only invest in market. They do not have any other job or business. They just invest in market. So it is their completely, they put it their blood and soul into stock market because this is the only way they earn money. So, what is the purpose of your investment? This is very, very important, and accordingly, you will make your strategies. Tax saving, I think we have discussed a lot. Fixed return, risk-free return, we have discussed that. Always have put certain amount of your whole money into a risk-free security, so that at least a certain proportion should be saved, right? Then there is appreciation value of securities. How much you think that the value of security will increase? For example, I discussed in previous slide that today the stock value is 10, after 3 months it is 15. So what is the increase in the value of security? Selection of security. Here selection of security is very important. Like I told you, which sector you want to invest. For example, you feel that IT sector is growing a lot because every day a new innovation is there. So maybe you want to invest in IT sector. Maybe you want to invest, like 4, 5, 6 years ago, there was a huge, say about real estate. People were really investing in real estate that time because there were so many township programs. So, depends that what kind of security you want to choose, what kind of sector you want to choose according to the current market situations. Then there is timing of purchase. Timing of purchase is very, very important here. For example, sugar industries. Sugar industries prices usually fall down in monsoon because of the seasonal effects. But it is the best time to buy those stocks because they are down because of seasonal changes. So when the stock prices are low, you should buy it, because after 2 3 months they will go up, then you can sell again. So timing of purchase is also very very important. And also when at the end of financial year, like in March in India, the stock price, when there is financial closing, usually the stock prices go down. This is a very good time to invest in stock market, because it is a very very seasonal effect, right? And after that the stock prices will go up. Like in pandemic also, there are companies which were whose shares were down just because of fear of pandemic, but the companies were performing well, so that was also a very good time to invest in those stocks. So timing of purchase is also very important factor when you invest in stock market. So these are the major factors which we have discussed.